Hi, I wanted to give feedback to you on the first exam, the Native American Unit exam. Some of you did very well, and others had some problems, usually because you did not follow the instructions and answer the question that was actually asked in the exam. Under helpful hints and course references, which is under content here in D2L, there is a handout called Tips for Taking Essay Exams. And if you had problems with the exam, probably it was because you didn't really read this handout or you didn't pay attention to it. So it indicates here that there are two important things to do when taking an essay exam. The first is to read and answer the question asked. And the second is to budget your time. Now, I give you a great deal of time on these exams. I believe for most of you, it's 3 hours. You don't need that much time to answer the question. So you've got plenty of time, but you still have to pay attention to time. So let's look at read and answer the question asked. The first thing is to read the question carefully, underline or highlight key words. So let's take a look at the exam. So if we take a look at the question, start the quiz, and we take a look here at the question, and it says, first of all, to have your materials on our study of Native American culture handy. So you don't have to remember anything. You should have the books and the other materials in front of you. When you look at art and music in this course, you should take notes so that you'll have those notes available. Write a well-organized, with thesis statement and topic sentences, paragraphs in logical order, essay of at least 500 words, discussing in detail the ways in which one or two literary works, and notice that I actually have that underlined, from the assigned works of literature in the Unit 1B assignment, as well as one artistic or musical work. Notice the word or. That means one or the other, not both, from assigned works of art or music in the Unit 1C assignment by Native Americans. And how do these works of literature and art or music illustrate one of the historical developments discussed in Takaki? You may choose to compare or contrast different works, how different works deal with the same historical development. So let's see, what are the key words here? One or two literary works, one artistic or musical work. And how those illustrate one of the historical developments which are discussed in Takaki. So those are the key words that we have that you have to pay attention to. Now, if we go back to tips for taking essay exams, they suggest that you write a thesis statement, which would be the first sentence in your answer. Don't bother with an introductory paragraph. Just have the thesis statement as your first one-sentence paragraph. That lets me know that you will immediately know, it will let me know immediately that you're answering the question in an interesting and appropriate way. The thesis statement has to be a sentence which has the topic and your main idea about the topic. And in an essay exam, should always use the key words from the question. So you're going to want to have history and whatever the history situation is that you're going to discuss, the author and title or authors and titles of the literature you're going to discuss, and the title, and if there is a musician or an artist that goes with it for the art or music. And that should all be in your thesis along with your main idea about it. So you might say that the literature and art illustrate or strongly illustrate, that's going to be an even better main idea, the situation, the historical situation. Then you write 3 or 4 well-developed paragraphs and so on. Always use the author and title of the works discussed. Some of you did not do that. And then there is this matter of budgeting your time, which you can read and study. I want to go back now to actually, I wound up putting this as an announcement, and that was the announcement that I put up about genre in the humanities. Some of you are still confused. Some of you wrote about Takaki as though it were literature. This class involves 3 aspects of the humanities: history, literature, and art and music. It is essential that students understand the difference between these 3 aspects and disciplines. History, which in this class is taught through readings in Ronald Takaki's nonfiction history book, A Different Mirror, as well as some links to documentaries and interviews, represents the non-fictional description of real events and the interpretation of their meaning. Okay, so that's history. Literature is creative writing by individual authors, and we're looking at how they reflect historical situations, but they're not historical. And then finally, visual art and music are additional very important creative approaches. So you've got to know what genre you're dealing with, and in order to answer the question, you need to keep those things straight. So please review the rubric that I use to grade your essays and the comments that I made about what you did well or what you had problems with, and then hopefully for the following exams you won't have some of the problems that you had with this exam.